Hi everyone, welcome to our video today. Today's video is on planting spring bulbs in containers, and it's a how-to guide. So first of all, it is early January. This is probably the latest that I want to be doing this project, but we've been busy. It's been the holidays, enjoying family. So happy New Year, everyone. I want to wish you happiness, health in the new year, and of course, beautiful gardens. But today's video, I'm going to show you what you need to do this project, and we're going to do the project together, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks along the way. Okay, so first off, I want to say that I love planting spring bulbs in containers, and there's at least 3 reasons. So one, I love planting for spring and looking forward to those beautiful blooms. And spring bulbs, they're one of the first flowers to come up, so I really look forward to that. But 2, containers are portable. So I'm using some lightweight, smaller containers today, and I want to talk about that and the importance of selecting your container. But you can move them around. So I'm planting these 2 to frame my daughter Hannah's front step, and it's the first thing she'll be seeing when you walk in the door. But she'll have the option of moving them around to their patio or to fill in some spots in their garden if she wants to, because they are so lightweight and portable. And number 3 is the rodents love spring bulbs, in particular tulips. And you may have seen some other videos where we go to great lengths to protect our tulip bulbs from those nasty rodents that will tunnel underneath and above when you're planting them in the ground or even your raised beds. So the containers will eliminate that issue. All right, so materials that we need, and I am going to throw up some links in the description just in case you're interested. So of course we need our container, and you're going to need a container that is at minimum 12 inches deep and 12 inches in diameter. So you want to choose the right size, but you also want to choose something that has a drainage hole in the bottom. It's very important that your bulbs are not in standing water. And you also want to choose a material that is going to be okay out in the cold, because hopefully we're going to be bringing these pots back out in maybe mid-March. It's still going to be cold, still the chance of snow and whatnot. So fiberglass or plastic is a wonderful option here. Okay, next we want to talk about soil. So we want some nice potting soil. If you have some potting soil on hand that has some fertilizer in the mix, that's wonderful. What I'm going to be showing you how to do today is recycling some of the existing potting soil that was in the containers, because we have filled these with some other seasonal plants, and adding some new soil in the mix. So we're going to be doing that today. So potting soil, your gardening tools, and then last but not least, you want your bulbs. So this is really fun here, because you can extend your bloom time by making sure you have some early spring bloomers, mid and late spring. And so I'm going to show you the mix that I have here. We're going to be using some tulips, some daffodils, and some muscari, or otherwise known as grape hyacinth, which, P.S., that is a great little bulb for containers because they can be invasive. So by putting them in containers, you're preventing them from just taking over the garden. So we have tulip bulbs pistache, which these here are going to be, it says spring through late spring, so mid to late spring bloomer. And they're pink, red, white, and yellow. So those are going to be fun. I love my tulips, and we have 20 of those. We have some daffodils here. We have Jetfire. These are going to be our late spring bloomers, and they are going to be yellow, of course. So we have 15 of these to split up. And then we have some muscari, or also known as grape hyacinth here. So these are going to be a light blue. And we have our crocuses. So they're going to be a creamy white. All right, so let's get going on our project here and get right down to the how-tos. Okay, so I have my 2 containers here, and I'm doing 2, and as I said, they're going to be symmetrical, so I'm going to try to plant them the same. I do have about 85 bulbs in total, so it's going to be 42, 43 in each one, so no one's going to notice that one little bulb, that's the extra. But symmetrical planting. And what you want to do, if you already have potting soil in here, you want to make sure that you loosen it up, because again, we want to make sure we have some good drainage here. And then we're going to be taking some out, and in this trug here I have some new potting soil, some fresh soil, and it does have a little bit of fertilizer in the mix here. And we're going to be mixing some of the old with the new. And that's my hot tip on how to make the most of your potting soil and freshen it up a bit to get another use out of it. So this here, I find that this scoop works really well. This is one of my favorite gardening tools this year. Okay, so we're going to take some out. So prepping the pot here. All right, next we want to plant our bulbs. Now, there's a trick to this here. So there is a hot term when it comes to planting spring bulbs in layers, and that is lasagna planting, which I find to be a really fun term. I've always called it layering my bulbs, but what you're going to be doing is you're going to be layering making your lasagna, you're going to be layering your latest flower bulb on the bottom or the largest one. And that usually works together, because typically your tulips, your daffodils are going to be a little later than some of your smaller bulbs, which are earlier, your crocuses and your grape hyacinths. So we're going to be putting the daffodils and the tulips on the bottom, and then we're going to be doing our muscari. Then, last but not least, toward the top, we're going to be doing our crocuses. So we all love seeing those crocuses first thing in the spring when winter breaks. So we're going to have a really full pot here. Okay, so we have the bags open, we're ready to go. And notice that I took some of the soil out, put a little bit of fresh back in, but I didn't fill it up all the way. So I have about 2 to 3 inches ready for my bulbs here. So you don't want to fill your pots all the way up. All right, so we're going to be doing the daffodils and the tulips first. And a couple of tips on that. First tip is the proper way to plant a bulb is with the tip up. So I like to tell people it should look like a Hershey Kiss when you put it in the ground or your container. If you're not sure which side goes up, you can always just plant them on their sides because they will correct themselves. So we're going to be doing daffodils first. Next tip is the planting depth. So when you're planting your bulbs, they should be at least 2 to 3 inches deep as the height of the bulb, or times the height of the bulb. So this bulb is about 1 inch, so you want to be planting this 2 to 3 inches down. So the hot tip there is your larger bulbs do have to be a little bit deeper, and then your smaller bulbs, such as the crocus, they are not even 1/4 of an inch, so they don't need to be as deep. So that's how you get your layers with the heights as well. All right, so daffodils, and we're going to split these up here because I just have 1 bag of 15 bulbs. And these are our latest bloomers here. So I'm just kind of nestling them in the soil a little bit, just pushing them in a little, and then spacing them out. Okay, and then we are going to plant our tulips. Now these can be pretty snug. They shouldn't quite be touching, but we have room for quite a few bulbs here. So we have 2 bags of the tulips, so each container can get 1 bag. So again, the largest bulbs or the latest flowering bulbs should be on the bottom. And they flower about the same time. Always check your packages, and they are about the same size. So I'm going to put a mix of these as my bottom layer in my lasagna. Okay, just to make sure that you're seeing what I have here. All right, next in our lineup, we have our grape hyacinth, and we have 25 of these, so those will be next. But before you layer the next layer of bulbs here, you want to add a little more soil. So using my nice scoop here, I'm just going to cover up the tulips and the daffodils. Okay, so 25 here total. So we're going to split these up. And we're going to space these out. Six, 9, 12. Just making sure I have my count right here. All right, and I'm nestling them in a little bit here. And then again, I'm going to get my scoop out and some soil, and I'm going to cover them up a little. Okay, and last but not least, we have our crocuses, so we're going to split these up. We have 25 of these. Such tiny little bulbs here. And we're going to space these out. Okay, and they are just going to need to be covered with not even an inch of soil because you saw how tiny they were. Okay, that's it. Pretty simple, right? And pretty exciting also. Okay, so next step is you want to water, but hang on before you do that for a minute because I have a hot tip about that. Because the last step is bringing your containers or your pots into a cool, dry location. So because you need to bring them somewhere, such as your unheated garage or basement, you don't want to be transporting them wet. So you want to wait until you get them in their location, put a tray under them, and then give them each a nice water. And then hold off on your watering until you bring them back outside. So they're going to be stored in their cool, dry location, about 35 to 45 degrees for around 10 weeks. So remember, in the beginning of the video when I said, it's early January, this is really the latest that I want to be doing this project. Lucky enough to not be making a mess inside. We got a pretty mild January day. But that's because when you count forward your 10 weeks, that's going to bring me roughly to mid-March. And that is a perfect time to be bringing them out to the location where you want to enjoy them. So it could be mid-March, late March. I'm in Zone 6B in Connecticut. We never know what the weather's going to be like mid-March. Could be one of those years where you're still getting some surprise snowstorms. So that's about the time I'm going to bring them back out. You're going to put them into a bright, sunny location, and then you can go ahead and give them some water. And then you will start seeing some blooms, starting with your crocuses. So pretty fun, pretty exciting. I'm already thinking spring, and it's a great time to be doing your garden planning. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I've given you some good ideas and tips today. And if you liked it, please go ahead and hit like, give us a thumbs up, and hit subscribe, because we have a lot more gardening videos coming your way.